What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I don't know if you guys know this, but I just so happen to be quite happy with how the Trump administration is administrating the executive branch right now. I'm loving it. There are a couple of aspects that, yeah, I kind of wish, Trump would shut his mouth sometimes, blah, 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 blah. Maybe he shouldn't have done this. Maybe the big, beautiful bill isn't so big. Well, it isn't so beautiful. We'll put it that way. It is kind of ugly in a few places, but we do get a lot of things that we like. But for the most part, I'm loving the Trump administration. Just for things like this. Check this out, y'all. Transportation chief seeks to weaken fuel economy standards, calls Biden-era rule illegal. That is right. That is right. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said in a rule Friday that Biden-era fuel economy standards for gas-powered cars and trucks are illegal and moved to reverse them, paving the way for a likely reset of rules. Now, in case you didn't know, Joe Biden was trying to mandate through rule setting electric vehicles, which is absurd. How can you force Americans to buy electric? Yeah, this is that whole green agenda push, which I think is a hoax, right? The whole climate agenda hoax, right? I know climate change is happening, right? The planet is warming up. Nobody can deny that. But it is the agenda that these climate hoaxers are pushing is the problem. Now, I'm not some climate scientist, so don't take my word for it. Please don't do that. Go look through all the data yourselves, and you will clearly see that the planet is warming. It is just, the conclusory statements that these scientists make as to where that planet warming, where we're going to go, the end of the road, the conclusion, in other words, is where we find our problem. That's all speculation. They have no idea. They just don't know. That's why I don't buy into it all that much. Plus, I am of the opinion that this is something that's going to take many hundreds of years to take place, and that humans are very innovative and that we can innovate our way through this. We'll figure this out, right? Like electric cars are one way to do it. It's just that technology, we're just not there yet. We don't have the infrastructure. We have to build this up over decades, and we just don't have that infrastructure to just switch. I know Biden was trying to force the issue at the cost of us, the taxpayers. That is who is going to bear the brunt of the cost of buying all this infrastructure and building all these charging stations. And plus, the climate intensity that it takes to build the batteries, the battery factories, the manufacturing of the batteries, all of that is very climate intensive. It's almost as bad as the car itself. So there you go. Until that is resolved, we still have an issue with planet warming pollution, for goodness sakes. Don't think that electric cars are just completely zero emissions. They're not. They're absolutely not. The car themselves are, sure, which is a good thing, once again, but it's the emissions in the creation of the batteries for said cars is the problem. It's a major problem, too. Let's keep going. Combined with Senate language in the pending budget bill to eliminate penalties for exceeding standards regulating how far vehicles must travel on a gallon of fuel, automakers moving forward could come under less pressure from regulators to reduce their pollution. Ultimately, the nation's use of electric vehicles could be slowed. Yes, and it will be slowed, probably. But once again, this isn't something you can just snap your fingers and overnight, all of a sudden, hey, everybody goes out and buys electric cars. It just doesn't work like that. You know how long it took to get the gas-powered car, the infrastructure, gas stations? We're still building gas stations, for crying out loud. So it took decades to get all that infrastructure built. It's just insane that they think they can snap their fingers and all of a sudden, oh, we just switched to electric cars just like that. It's not how it works. It's not going to be 10 years. That's the snap, 10 years. No, you can't do it that quickly, not without significant investment into that. And we just don't have that kind of investment to dump in to just that. Sorry. The move aligned with the Trump administration's ongoing efforts to slash federal support for EVs. President Donald Trump has pledged to end what he has called an EV mandate, referring incorrectly to former President Joe Biden's target for half of all new vehicle sales to be electric by 2030. EVs do not use gasoline or emit planet-warming greenhouse gases. That is a lie. They lie on two fronts, right? Joe Biden, right, wanted for people to start buying electric vehicles. He wanted all sales of electric cars to be half of sales of all vehicles. For goodness sakes, that's ridiculous. And to say that EVs do not use gasoline or emit planet-warming greenhouse gases, one of those is true. They don't use gasoline. The car itself does not. But like I was saying earlier, the pollution-intensive process by which we make the batteries offsets the zero emissions that you get from the car itself. It offsets that by a lot. Like, I do believe they calculated that, I believe it's like 15 years that you would have to drive an EV for 15 years to offset the use, for offset the making of the battery, essentially. That's the numbers that I've seen. And I'm sure that could vary depending on the car or whatever, but cars, they're getting more and more economic, if you will, fuel economic, less climate pollutive intensive, if you will. So, once again, folks, I think we can innovate our way through this. Cars are still innovating till this day. So, with that being said, how long will that be until it's 20 years, 30 years to offset those greenhouse gas emissions? That's all I'm saying. It just doesn't make any sense to just damage society, just try to destroy society by investing all our money into something that still pollutes the planet. You're still not getting to where you want to be. Just doesn't make sense to me, folks. Let's keep going. No federal policy has required auto companies to sell or car buyers to purchase EVs, although California and other states have imposed rules requiring that all new passenger vehicles sold in the state to be zero emissions by 2035. You know, that's a funny statement, talking about the federal rules, because, yeah, that's not true, is it? It's not really a mandate. It's not going to force you to do so. What it does, right, they're technically true, but that's a play on words, if you will, because they're not forcing you to go buy electric vehicles. But with the total amount of emissions that cars put out over the years, right, what they're basically doing is, to get to a certain number, they can't sell these many, X amount of cars, X amount of gasoline-powered vehicles. So that's the forcing the people to do it. So it's not a rule forcing people to buy it. It's forcing the car manufacturers to not make gasoline-powered vehicles. Once again, the corporate press is just highly manipulative in their language. But let's keep going. When he was in office, Biden imposed increasingly stringent emission standards for cars and trucks. He included use of EVs in calculating the rules, an inclusion the Trump administration and the auto industry have argued was illegal and raised the bar too high for automakers to meet. The Transportation Department's memorandum Friday said the previous administration ignored statutory requirements that barred consideration of EVs when setting standards. We are making vehicles more affordable and easier to manufacture in the United States, Duffy said. The revised rule does not itself change existing standards, but it empowers the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to make adjustments in coming months. Duffy put pressure on the federal agency earlier this year to reverse the fuel economy rules as soon as possible. Under the Biden administration, automakers were required to average about 50 miles per gallon of gas by 2031, up from 39 miles per gallon for light-duty vehicles today, in an effort to save almost 70 billion gallons of gasoline through 2050. The rules finalized in 2024 increase fuel economy 2% per year for passenger cars in every model year from 2027 to 2031, and 2% each year for SUVs and other light trucks from 2029 to 2031. Mileage rules in place since the 1970s energy crisis work alongside the EPA limits on vehicle greenhouse gas emissions. Transportation accounts for the largest source of the nation's planet-warming emissions, and cars and trucks make up more than half of those. And what does the rest of that make up in the transportation sector? Oh, private jets that these very same people, these climate zealots, fly around on to go talk about how pollution is killing the planet. It's insane. That's why I don't buy into the climate agenda nonsense. In recent years, automakers have been manufacturing gasoline-fueled cars that are more efficient and get higher mileage, which is a good thing, right? The Alliance for Automotive Innovation, which represents automakers, called Duffy's announcement a positive development that adds important clarity to federal mileage rules. The Biden-era standards were improperly predicated on alternative fuel vehicles, said John Bozzella, the group's president and CEO. But Catherine Garcia, director of Sierra Club's Clean Transportation for All program, said the Transportation Department's action will increase costs for Americans and increase pollution. Now, I don't know what metric that they are referring to here. It might increase pollution, but how is that going to increase costs? It won't, by the way. That's a lie. Making our vehicles less fuel efficient hurts families by forcing them to pay more at the pump, she said. Oh, is that so? Well, hang on just a second. If Donald Trump is bringing down the price of gasoline because this climate agenda raises the cost of gas, Donald Trump is offsetting that. Any cost you might lose with miles gained, right? You offset in the cost of the gasoline itself. Plus, there's just been a trend over the years that cars get better and better and better fuel mileage. That is a trend that is not forced by the government, by the way. Simply because that trend existed since the beginning of cars, since they were invented. They've been getting more and more horsepower and more fuel efficient. They've just been getting more and more efficient over time as just a general tendency. So, I mean, sure, the government has been forcing them to be more and more fuel efficient, sure, but they're going to generally tend toward that anyway. So it's not like they were actually doing anything outside of natural evolution, for crying out loud. Meanwhile, Republicans on the Senate Commerce Committee added proposed language in the pending budget bill that Thursday that would remove fines penalizing automakers that don't meet fuel economy standards with their gasoline-powered vehicles. Automakers can buy regulatory credits under a trading program if they don't meet the standards. EV makers like Tesla, which don't rely on gasoline, earn credits that they can sell to other car makers. The arrangement has resulted in billions of dollars in revenue for Tesla and millions for other EV makers like Rivian. Yeah, that's what Elon Musk is so pissed off about, by the way. The memo in bill text landed this week as Tesla owner Elon Musk and Trump engage in a public spat online, with Trump suggesting that Musk only developed a problem with this budget bill because it rolls back tax credits for EVs. Musk disputes that, but yeah, it's blatant for everybody to see. That's why Musk is pissed. Sure, he's mad. And by the way, it's not a spending bill. It's a reconciliation bill. It's mandatory spending. We have to spend that. But I know they're saying spending bill as if it's just some general spending or something like that, like sending $96 billion to Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan and blah, 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 blah. It's not one of those kind of spending bills. They must spend this money. So, sure, there's a little bit of pork in it, and Elon Musk is a little bit aggravated over that, but there is spending cuts in this reconciliation bill, right? They're reforming Medicaid, which hasn't been done in generations, for goodness sakes. It hasn't been reformed this much in a good while. Maybe not generations. That's a little bit extreme, a little bit hyperbolic, but it's been a long time since we've had these kind of reforms to Medicare and Medicaid. This is a good thing. This is a very good thing. But, getting back to the matter at hand, I just love this argument. The intensity, the climate intensity on these batteries is just absurd. It's off the scales. Like I said, you could drive around a gasoline-powered vehicle for almost 20 years. I think it's 15, somewhere in there. 15, 20 years to offset the batteries for one electric vehicle. And you must ask the question, do those batteries last that long? It's a good question, don't you think? Do those batteries last 15 to 20 years? So, will it ever actually offset? See, this is something they don't factor in. They just want you to drive an electric vehicle. But, you know, the costs to the climate included with that offset any benefits you may get from driving an electric vehicle. So that's not really an argument. They just don't tell you that. They try to make you believe that electric vehicles just magically don't pollute the planet. It's insane without telling you everything that goes into it. Just don't buy into it, y'all. It's nonsense. Once again, and the climate agenda is nonsense as well. Like I said, I'm a firm believer. Like, you look at the data is all there and it's clear. Yeah, the planet's warming. But the thing is, would the planet be warming anyway? That's what we don't know. We have no freaking clue. Sure, we could say that the planet warming is accelerating due to human intervention. Sure, we could say that. But what do we do about that? That's the question. Instead of investing all this money into pipe dreams, for goodness sakes, like wind and solar and all that, that are never going to be viable as a replacement. Sure, they could supplement gasoline-powered or coal-powered or whatever it may be, but that's a supplement. That's not a replacement. So I thought we were trying to eliminate pollution altogether. You can't just supplement it with solar and wind and all that. You need viable alternatives, replacements, viable replacements, for crying out loud, to actually fix the problem. We need to stop emitting so many greenhouse gases, right? Right. Can we all agree with that? Not just supplement that and reduce. We need to stop to fix the climate. Is anybody even saying that? I mean, where's the solution here? Where's the solutions? Let's dump money into cleaning up our emissions. How about that? Instead of just stopping the emissions. Let's dump money into nuclear. Something that is a viable replacement. But they don't ever advocate for those things. Which is fascinating. That tells you where their heart is, if you will. Their heart's not in it, folks. They don't care about that issue. They claim to. They want to make you believe, but it's all a virtue signal. That's all it is. The whole climate agenda to me is a virtue signal. I think we need to be good stewards of the planet, by God. We don't want to destroy this planet, for goodness sakes. Currently, we don't have anywhere else to go. And even if we did, how are we going to get there? You know what I'm saying? But I think that's all I got on this one, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Don't forget, smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Hey, that would be also great, just really great if you would sign up, become a member, help me deliver the best possible content I can deliver to you guys. Help me push back against the big bad algorithm that keeps me down, y'all, because it is. They're not going to recommend my videos everywhere like they should. I don't have tons of money to dump into advertising to advertise my channel, so I need you guys to help me out on that. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. That's all I got on this one, y'all. I want to thank everybody for watching. Y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.